First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not caring about my ex or her kid? I was married to my ex for 12 years. Married for 8 of those years, and I thought we had a great relationship. However, that was proven to be a lie when I found out our child wasn't actually mine. The child was a little under 1 year old when I found out. The little girl was diagnosed with an inherited genetic disease that not my wife nor I had. So, after a genetic test, I was told I wasn't the father. I left her almost immediately and wished her the best of her life and hoped her daughter would do well. During the beginning of the divorce, I was served with a summons for a child support case. My lawyer told me since I acted as the father for a fair amount of time, I shouldn't be shocked if I'm ordered to pay. I wanted to fight, but I wasn't worried. I had a good backup plan. Long story short, the real father wasn't found and I was ordered to pay. She smiled pretty big after the hearing, and I was upset admittedly, so I told her I'd send her a check before garnishment kicked in. I liquidated all my assets pretty quickly. Took a loss on some things, but hey, I'm still young. Called my parents and they got my room ready, and I moved back home. In my home country. I sent my ex a picture of me smiling back home, and told her best of luck. I've gotten a few calls and letters regarding the support, but they got blocked or tossed in the trash. I don't think I'm the a-hole here. I didn't cheat and she's not my child. Some people argue about the bond, but I can't say I had a strong one considering I was ready to walk the second I heard about what was up. What does Reddit think? Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. I'm honestly amazed by all the "you're the a-hole" ratings you're getting. She knew damn well the kid wasn't yours and still had the audacity to go to court for child support. Good on you for leaving behind all that BS. Completely cut him out and move on with your life. She made her bed with her actions and lies. She can now lie in it. You are in no way obligated to pay up for a kid that's not yours, OP. I doubt anyone in your position would still stuck around. I wish you luck on a new happy life. I think it's cool that nobody talks about how to treat someone like that is horrible. What is the problem with people? Is playing with someone's life and putting a child in the middle okay? Considering how young the child was when you found out, I'm going to say not the a-hole. She won't even remember you. Lucky for you, you found out so soon on. What on earth is up with a system that will order you to pay child support on a kid that isn't yours, that you've only been raising for about a year though? They don't want the mom getting SNAP, I guess. Please don't shoot the messenger. Just giving some info based on what I learned from working with a family law firm/lawyers. Basically, the law isn't looking at what is fair to the parents, and more at what is best for the child. So, if you've been caring for a child for a year, their question is, how would it be beneficial for the child to lose a parent/financial stability? If you can't find a real dad, you somehow have to argue that it's detrimental to the child for you to continue being in its life, even if it's just financially. Which, as you can imagine, is pretty difficult. It sucks. But the system needs a huge overhaul, and I don't think a lot of people with the power to do so want to get into it. Not the a-hole because I don't agree with a system that allows someone to be liable after being lied to. I would commend you if you were still there for an innocent child, but I think the system isn't fair. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for not giving my wife her daughter's address so she could see the newborn? Hear me out, please. I'm a 46-year-old father who lost a daughter, Molly, years ago to brain cancer. Molly's death broke me. She was my only child. I'm no longer who I was before this tragedy. I married my wife when my stepdaughter, Sarah, was 15. Sarah had issues with her mom. Her mom would kick her out over small arguments. She kicked her out for getting a haircut, for failing one class, and other reasons. Every time she'd bring her back home and tell her to learn her lesson or she'd be kicked out. One time, her mom kicked her out over a diary at 17, and Sarah had enough and didn't return. She started working. I remained in contact. I just couldn't let her struggle, so I tried to help her financially, but she refused. She's incredibly independent and a hardworking person. She reminded me of Molly. I decided to help in other ways. I got her a better job opportunity by calling someone I knew at the time. This way, she still had to work to earn money, which is something she wanted, and also work a better job that appreciated her more than the previous job. She's an artist. She wanted to be a graphic designer. so I sold my old car to pay for her courses. She started paying me back bit by bit, only because she's independent. She lived with her then boyfriend, now husband, and paid for other things. My wife didn't try to mend things. She disowned Sarah the day she got married, but I stood firm and told her that I'm free to talk to Sarah and she should respect that. I attended gatherings with Sarah from time to time, and she calls me dad in front of other people, whereas in the past, it was just my name. This sounds crazy, but I believe this all happened just so I could meet Sarah and have a chance at being the best father that I could be. She's now 22 and just had a baby girl a few weeks ago. I visited several times and we talked. She told me that it was unfortunate that she lost her dad, but was glad she has me in her life. I cried, although I'm not good at expressing emotions, and it got worse after Molly's death. My wife knew about the baby and demanded I give her the address so she could go see her granddaughter. I refused because Sarah asked me not to tell, and because she's already dealing with postpartum and will not be able to deal with her mom's behavior. My wife threw a fit and said that this is her daughter and grandbaby, and I shouldn't try to stop her from seeing her. She called me selfish and cruel. The argument didn't stop, and the family are agreeing with her and telling me to stay out of it. I argued with my wife about it again, and she said I had no rights and that I needed to give her the address. She didn't even seem regretful or wanted to apologize. Everyone is now blaming me, telling I'm being cruel and demanding I give her the address. Now for the top comments. I refused because Sarah asked me not to tell. It begins and ends there. You're honoring Sarah's wishes. You would be a huge a-hole to do otherwise. As it stands, you are the opposite of a huge a-hole. You are a wonderful father. Congratulations on the birth of your granddaughter. May she be a light in your life that reminds you of your Molly, not the a-hole. You're right, that's not my decision. But they're telling me I was the one driving a wedge in the family. Truth is, I'm not trying to lose Sarah's trust, and there are boundaries that I cannot overstep. The one who drove a wedge in the family was the one who disowned her own daughter. The rest of the family have a problem with me, and see this as an opportunity to put the blame on me for what happened. I used to care in the past about what they say, but not anymore. After everything I've already lost, losing them is in fact a blessing. Not a a-hole, and in the kindest way I can muster, get a divorce. Agree. Divorce the wife, keep the daughter. The next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for reminding my ex she has no say in where my son goes to school? A little background info. My ex and I broke up when she got pregnant with my son Vincent because she left out one tiny little detail during our time together. She was married with kids. She and her husband almost divorced. I fought to be in my son's life and got sole custody in the end. My ex still has visitation, and Vincent has met his other 4 half-siblings who are around the same age as him. Vincent just turned 5, and I've started thinking about elementary school next year. A few of my friends' kids and my sister's kids all go to the same private school that starts with pre-K to high school. Honestly, I've heard so many good things about this place. It's not strict like many other private schools around here. The classes are small, the teachers are very attentive. My nephews have been there for years and they love it. I've been there before for school events too. It seems like a wonderful community and I feel like my son would benefit a lot coming here. When my ex came to see Vincent, I mentioned the school and she got very defensive. She said she didn't like the idea of him going to a private school and there's nothing wrong with public. Which I agree. I grew up going to public schools. However, this place would be very beneficial for him, and I told her as such. The more info I gave her, the more pissed off she seemed to get. Finally, she said she doesn't want him going there because she really wanted Vincent to go to the same school as his half-siblings, and sending him somewhere separate would mean they spend less time together. We started arguing. She was set on him not going there, and I eventually told her I'm the one who gets to make these decisions. So she has no say in any of this, and I'm only telling her as a courtesy. She got really quiet and started crying. She said I didn't need to rub it in her face, and she's only thinking about Vincent spending less time with her side of the family if he goes to a different school. She called me some very unkind names and left. I understand that she wants him to be close to her other kids, but I don't see why that could cost him having a better education. But I am wondering if maybe I went a little too far throwing the custody arrangement in her face? Don't know if it was the right call to say those things and remind her she has no control of what happens in his life. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. The world doesn't revolve around what she wants. Seems like your ex never learned that lesson since her infidelity. If your son wants to go to that private school, then that's all you really need to know. It's not like he will never see his half-siblings or something. Also, having good education will let him live in comfort, not the fact how close or not he may be with your ex's kids. Also, unless his half-siblings are the same age as he is, which seems unlikely, I'm not sure how much they'd actually see each other in school. It's not like they're going to be walking home from the bus stop together, sharing classes, eating together, etc. Until I was in high school, my school system rarely offered opportunities for us to mingle with people from other grade levels. And even in high school, most of the things we did were by grade levels. Even if they were in the same grade level, who's to say they won't develop different friend groups / interests / etc.? Is she going to force them to spend time together at school? I'd wager this has more to do with her not being able to afford private schools for her kids, as opposed to contact with his half-siblings. Not a a-hole. Also, it could be awful for him, as no doubt the story of him being the child of an affair would come out, since the siblings go to the same school. No kid deserves that kind of gossip going on if it can be avoided. Not a a-hole. Knowing the circumstances of this situation, the kids are all probably better in different schools anyway. I am not sure what la la land she lives in, that she thinks everything will just be so cherry when the school marms get wind of this. Wait until the day he has to draw his family tree. It happened to my niece, who I raised. Her teachers told everyone her parents were substance addicts, so I raised her. This was kinder, by the way. The custody arrangement reiterates and sets precedent that this is your decision. This is tough love, but better to implement it now. I did the same with my niece's parents. Sorry, but messing up so bad gives you zero say and zero credibility. Also, how does someone with 4 kids have time for an affair? Crazy times. Well, 3 kids at the time. The youngest was born after my son. And honestly, I worked crazy long hours with barely any free time, so I'm sure that made having an affair easier for her since we didn't see each other too often. The last story is titled, Am I the a-hole if I allow my daughter to change her name? I, female 29, have a daughter, female 10, with my previous partner, who sadly died when my daughter was 1. When my daughter was 3, I began dating my now husband, Matt, male 34, who has 2 boys, 10, 11, with his ex-wife. I've had a great bond with his kids since they were little, and I've always tried to make it clear that while I know I'm not their mom, I'm another person who will always love and support them. My husband is a fantastic dad, and my daughter is incredibly close to him. Last year, we had our first child together, 1 male, and my daughter, Mia, has brought up a few times that she's now the only one without Matt's surname. I spoke to her about it, and she explained that it sometimes makes her feel like she's not really part of the family. It was pretty heartbreaking, as we've always tried to keep her dad's memory alive, but reassure her that it's okay for her to love Matt as a dad too. It's obviously something that is playing on her mind as she came home from school last week and asked me if I thought Matt would adopt her so he could be her dad too. Matt and I spoke about it, and although he said he would adopt her in a heartbeat, we felt we should wait a few years until she's older and can understand the gravity of the decision. I suggested we add his surname to her own instead, and Mia loved that idea. Matt spoke to the boys to make sure it was okay with them, and they were excited about it. She's the only girl, so they have a very sweet relationship. They went to dinner together and she wrote a letter asking him. She cried. He cried. The waitress cried. It was an emotional moment for them both. Well, it all kicked off. My late partner's parents said they understood why she wanted to do it, but it's an insult to his memory and I'm an a-hole for not talking her out of it. I can understand them being a bit upset, as I know it's also their connection to her / their son. However, Matt's ex-wife heard and said what we're doing is disgusting, and that giving Mia a surname devalues the boys' relationship with their dad. She got nasty and started saying that my daughter and I need to know our place. I've always done my best to be civil with her, but even I lost it and told her that she lost her right to have any input into Matt's decisions when she ditched him for another guy. I accept that as kind of an a-hole move, but don't come for my daughter. Matt stands by our decision 100%, but now I'm wondering if any of their comments are valid. And if Mia ultimately decides she doesn't want Matt to adopt her, whether I'll be an a-hole for supporting her. She's so happy about it, and I don't think I can bring myself to take that away from her. Edit. Sorry, should have made it clear that we're hyphenating her surname. It'll be up to her if she wants to use the hyphenated version in day-to-day life, or just my husband's and the other as a middle name. Everyone who matters is on board with the name amendment. All due respect to your previous partner's parents, but Mia keeping his name solely will not bring him back. He lives on through her living on and being happy. That is his legacy. A rose by any other name would smell as sweet. No respect to your current husband's ex-wife. Her attitude stinks. Not a-hole. You are completely right. Thank you. Note, do not hyphenate. Just add it as a second surname without hyphenating it. When a name is hyphenated, you must use both on any legal documents, bank accounts, credit cards, etc. If you simply have two surnames, she can choose which she uses and where. We filled in the paperwork this afternoon and she chose to have her current surname as an additional middle name and my husband's as her surname. Not a-hole. The ex-wife needs to shut the hell up. She literally has no part in this, and her reasoning is, well, just plain stupid. Your previous partner's parents, though, are very justified in their emotion. To them, it is going to feel like they're losing part of their son again. I think your compromise is excellent. She is keeping her father's name while also adding on her stepfather's name because he helped raise her. I can see why, at this age, she would feel left out of your family. At the end of the day, I see it from both perspectives. I don't see the harm in adding a name as long as you aren't taking her father's away. She may even change it back when she gets older. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe. Am I the a-hole for rejecting my dad's efforts to repair our relationship because he chose his wife over me? I, 21 male, lost my mom when I was still a baby, and my dad didn't date anyone until I was around 9. Then he met his wife, Lindsay. She was a single mom to 2 kids. Both of her kids had different fathers who weren't around. Her oldest was 11, and her youngest was 6. Her youngest was special needs and medically complex. My dad and Lindsay rushed their relationship because she didn't have much free time and she wanted help, and Dad was willing. A really brief TLDR. My dad kept me in a bad situation. His wife's youngest took up a lot of money and space with all his extra needs, and her oldest was angry, violent, lashed out, drank, and did drugs. I had a curtained-off space, not a bedroom with a door, and not a real bed. I once went 6 weeks without seeing my dad while I lived there. He told me she came first when I asked him to leave, and that his marriage and happiness would always come first. I left at 17 and didn't look back. Now he wants to reconcile, but I said no because I deserve to be happy too. I know it wasn't her son's fault, the 6-year-old, but he was a lot of work, and I resented it from the start. Dad told me good people help family, and don't pass up love and family just because it'll be more difficult or more work. He said he deserved to be happy, and Lindsay made him happy, that my mom was his first chance and he lost her, so Lindsay was his second chance. He told me I could benefit from being a caring brother to Lindsay's son, and would learn a lot about real life. Money was extremely tight, and the house was filled with medical equipment and mobility aids for Lindsay's son. I didn't even get an actual bedroom. I was shoved behind a curtain where the office had been before Dad and I moved in. The timeline was like this. May, Dad and Lindsay meet. September, they introduce us all to each other. November, we all move in together. February, Dad and Lindsay get married. A few months after we moved in, Lindsay's daughter, the oldest, started acting out. She smashed up some of her half-brother's medical equipment, stole money, snuck out late at night, got drunk a few times, started taking drugs, and would push me around if I was in her way. There were nights I couldn't sleep until 1 or 2 a.m. because I could hear Lindsay and her daughter fighting. Her daughter would say she wished her half-brother would die so they could move on. Lindsay would get hysterical, and her daughter would say he wasn't her real brother anyway, just a burden.
I begged my dad to leave and go back to it being just the two of us, but he said we couldn't walk out. We committed. We were more than just the two of us now. I told him I didn't want any of them and hated how much life had changed. He told me life always changes, and I needed to get on top of my feelings and accept that he needed to be happy and deserved to save his marriage. He said his marriage was the most important thing and that it had to be to provide me with stability. Even when Lindsay's daughter kicked me out of my room and bed, literally dragging me by the hair or legs, Dad stayed. When I was 13, I went 6 weeks without seeing my dad because Lindsay's son was in the hospital and she stayed with him. That meant if Dad wasn't at work, he was at the hospital. All I got was a note telling me to go to friends' houses if there was no food. Those 6 weeks were hell. Every time I saw Lindsay's daughter, she cursed at me, shoved me around, and made me feel unsafe outside of my curtained area. Nothing got better. After I turned 15, Lindsay started asking me to help more with chores and errands and expected me to be her little helper. When I said no, Dad told me I didn't get to disrespect my new mom. That led to a fight where I exploded and told him to F off because she would never be my mom. Nothing good came from them being married, and he needed to leave me alone. More fights happened after that because Lindsay heard and said she loved me, and her son loved me too, and would hate to know I saw him as nothing but a burden. When I was 17, I just left one day. I didn't have a plan or much savings, but I decided I couldn't take it anymore. I left Dad a note, like he left me when I was 13. He filed a missing persons report, and I had to tell the cops I was safe, but refused to go back. I avoided being sent back until I turned 18. Then I was just free. I didn't stay in touch and started a new life. I even tracked down my mom's family, and now I live with my maternal grandparents, who had been searching for me for years. But Dad had moved and never let anyone know where we were going. He got in touch a couple of months ago. I ignored him and kept ignoring his requests to reconcile. Then, a week ago, I replied to his message where he said how much he hated that we ended up like this. He wasn't even sure if I'd blocked him. I had planned to, but never expected him to reach out. But he said he loved me, missed me, and more than anything wanted us to work on things. I told him that he chose his wife over me, made a big chunk of my childhood hell, and I wanted nothing more to do with him because I deserved to put my happiness first. He's replied a bunch since, saying I should never have expected him to give up his wife for me and that we can work on this. He says I need my dad and all kinds of crap. He actually seems kind of desperate and erratic about it, like he's really afraid I won't give him a chance. Am I the a-hole for rejecting his efforts? Now for the top comments. Your dad failed you when you needed him most. You're not wrong. Thank you. Like he said, she comes first, so he should be fine with the outcome of that. OP, before you resume being low or no contact, please lay everything out for him in exquisite detail. Every hungry moment during those 6 weeks. Every hit or kick or push from stepsis. Every neglectful moment. Every tear. I don't expect it to make a tiny bit of difference to him, but I feel like you need to get it off your chest, and he needs to know it all. Then he can be relegated to your past and be happy with his wife. And you be happy with the better life you've built. Not the a-hole. Sounds like you went through hell and the one person you were supposed to be able to count on let you down spectacularly. It was such a big change that it was hell having hardly anything and then dealing with the fighting and all the other stuff. If you're not in therapy to help you unpack this, you should consider it. It's expensive, but maybe your grandparents can help. I want to give them a hug for taking you in. Good people. I'm in therapy now. It took a while, but I accepted that I'd need it. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not having a relationship with my dad and his family because his wife is the affair partner and they talked crap about my mom? My parents were married when my mom got pregnant with me, 16 male. She was still pregnant when she found out my dad was cheating with Lauren. My dad and Lauren moved in together after the affair was exposed, and then Lauren got pregnant. My dad and Lauren tried to get custody of me and lost. They called CPS on my mom and weren't able to take me that way either. So it was always toxic. They shared custody of me starting when I was 3, and it ended last year when the courts let me reduce it to 50-50. A few months ago, it was decided I could live with whoever I wanted, but I couldn't block or mute either parent while I'm under 18. My dad and Lauren have 6 kids together. My half-brother is their oldest, and he's less than a year younger than me. My dad and Lauren used to talk so much crap about my mom. I remember being really young, and they would say how she gave birth to me early and didn't even breastfeed me to make up for it. They said she hated my half-brother and wished he was dead. They often told me she put herself before me and didn't care about my need to be with my family. They called her ugly, fat, and all kinds of other insults. They'd say she didn't buy me nice gifts like they did, or that she didn't give me siblings like they did. Lauren even said her womb was all rotted up from being such a bad mom. I was maybe 5 when my mom told me about the affair and why she didn't get along with Lauren and Dad. She also told me they tried to take me away from her. She had a therapist help her have that conversation because she was afraid they would alienate me from her. I asked my dad about it, and he didn't deny it. But it was years later when he came out and said he didn't regret what he did and would do it all over again, only he'd try to win. By then, I already resented the heck out of everything, and it only got worse with all the crap they talked about my mom. My mom told me once and never spoke of it again after that. I really hated being at my dad's house and didn't want to be close to Dad, Lauren, or the other kids. I made a lot of trouble for them. It was also really chaotic there because my dad and Lauren broke up twice but kept living in the same house. They divided it into his half and her half, and those times were really tense. Lauren would get mad when I wouldn't visit her side during Dad's parenting time. That actually almost made them break up for good, but they got back together both times. It added to all the weirdness. I got into so much trouble when I had to be there because I wanted nothing to do with the kids and was rude to Lauren and my dad. I started calling them cheaters 3 years ago, which ticked them both off. They told me I wasn't even born at the time, and I said I didn't care. They cheated on my mom, tried to take me away from her, and badmouthed her when she was the victim. Lauren told me if my mom was so great, my dad never would have wanted her in the first place. I said it was because they're both gross. My mom had me in therapy at different points of my childhood. It was the therapist who suggested calming down and talking to the judge about reducing contact and preparing to be mature about it. He told me being mature and not disrespecting all of them, especially the kids, would be better. Both times it worked. So now I'm living with my mom, and I don't have anything to do with them. I even transferred schools so I could go full no contact with Dad's other kids. I don't care if they're innocent too. I don't want a relationship with them. I get texts from Dad pretty often. I blocked Lauren, and I blocked their kids because I can. Dad tells me when his kids want to see me, and he's always texting that they all miss me. And I'm not being fair and should at least have something to do with my half-siblings. I've replied twice to his texts just to show I haven't blocked or muted him. The first time, I said I didn't care. The second time, I told him to F off. He just keeps texting about the kids now, trying to make me feel bad, but it doesn't work. I don't care. Am I the a-hole? Your father and his wife have behaved very badly. There is absolutely no excuse for any adult to badmouth a parent in front of a child. Your mom sounds awesome, and she has obviously done a really good job. The kids aren't your responsibility, and if they had listened to you in the first place, they wouldn't be in this position. Yes, the kids are innocent, but so are you. Not the a-hole. Your dad and Lauren sound like awful people. Make sure to tell your mom that everyone on the internet thinks she is a great mom. Not the a-hole. I'm so sorry this was your experience growing up. I hope your mom and you both find peace. She must be a very wonderful mom for you to not be alienated when they were so openly hostile towards her. And you are a wonderful son for recognizing how great she is. As your half-siblings get older, you can decide for yourself if you want relationships with them away from your dad. Do what gives you peace. My mom's an amazing mom. She's been through so much, and honestly, with all they put her through, she could have taken it out on me the way they kinda did by bad-mouthing her. But she didn't. She was always there for me, and really tried to make me as not screwed up as possible. Last story. Am I the a-hole for picking a restaurant for my birthday dinner that did not meet the needs and requirements of my dad's wife and her son? My dad got married to Kathleen when I, 22 male, was 15. Kathleen has 2 kids, a daughter I've never met, I think she's in her late 20s or early 30s, and a son, Benjamin, 18 male. Benjamin is allergic to peanuts and shellfish. On top of that, he and Kathleen are very picky eaters. His diet when I lived there consisted of pizza, fries, burgers, and beef and cheese tacos. He wouldn't eat fruits or vegetables. He wouldn't eat any meat except beef. He'd eat chocolate, ice cream, and stuff like that though. He was so bad at checking labels and had a few allergic reactions while we lived together. One time, he had to be rushed to the hospital and spent a week there because he had such a bad reaction. Kathleen's super picky too. I can't remember all the stuff she wouldn't eat, but it included any kind of fish, any kind of potato, rice, pasta, bread, and things like that. This left us in a really weird position when my dad wanted to order takeout or take us out to eat. We had a couple of fast food places where Kathleen would order a salad and Benjamin would order pizza and burgers. The food was never great, but it could have been worse. I think the part that sucked was every time we ordered out for my birthday or went out for my birthday, it was one of the 2 places they liked. Even a taco place was out, unless they'd remove all veggies and extras except for the meat and cheese. Some places still put gross shit, to quote Benjamin, on them even when they agreed to comply. Anytime they want to do a family meal out, they expect us all to go to their chosen fast food places that work for Benjamin and Kathleen, and I'm tired of dealing with them. They're insufferable about how others eat too, so I never go. A few weeks ago, I had a birthday dinner with my girlfriend and some family and friends. Dad wanted to come, and he expected Kathleen and Benjamin to be invited too. I told him that was okay if they'd eat where I had chosen. I got an email from Kathleen and calls from Dad, where I was told my restaurant of choice did not meet the needs and requirements of Benjamin and Kathleen, and that me and the rest of the guests should travel out of state for a dinner for my birthday, so we could go to one of Benjamin and Kathleen's choices. My answer was no, and I told Dad he could still come, but I was not changing where I have my birthday dinner. Kathleen sent another email asking why I was being so hostile like her daughter, and said I should care about my family's health and interests. Dad and Kathleen were more upset to learn some of Dad's side flew out to join us for dinner, when they typically won't accept plans from them to eat out. So now I'm facing more of their anger for my choice of restaurant. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. So your dad's relatives avoid eating with him and Kathleen because of the boring food and jumped at the opportunity to have a nice meal with you? The rule is simple. Your birthday, you choose. Your dad can go and have chicken nuggets with his wife any day he feels like it, but he does not get to dictate how you organize your birthday party. Seems like Kathleen's own daughter doesn't like eating out with them either. Sounds like Kathleen's daughter is totally estranged, as OP has never met her. Wait a minute, her own daughter is so fed up with the dietary nightmare that is her mother and brother that stepmom considers her hostile? No, not the a-hole. Accommodating for the peanut and shellfish allergy would be a reasonable ask. Demanding that you limit your choices to 2 mediocre restaurants on your birthday to accommodate the stepmother and stepbrother's dietary dysfunction is absurd. Leveling up that demand to you must not only give up your preferred choice, but travel to another state to accommodate their dietary demands is ridiculously entitled. Just put them on mute and enjoy the culinary freedom you now enjoy. There's more than that. Her daughter and Benjamin are half-siblings, and I think a lot of mess started there and went into favoritism as well as the weird food stuff.